Hi, we're Laura and Dan. We've bought a beautiful rustic Portuguese barn and have literally zero knowledge of building and farming, but plan on converting it into a beautiful off-grid homestead. Follow us on our journey. We came to Portugal during the most intense time of the year. The temperatures have been hitting 40 degrees Celsius, which is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The land has started to dry up and most of our energy has been spent trying to stay cool. It's also forced us to slow down with our project. They say that it's the winter that forces us to retreat and turn inward in self-reflection, but I found that the intense heat has been bringing up to the surface a lot of aspects inside ourselves that need healing. There's a certain value to both extremes. They both help us purge in different ways. The more I've been uncovering the land, the more I've been noticing the parallels and truths in nature and how they reflect in ourselves, because we are an intrinsic part of it. With the heat being so intense, we've found that we've had to move more in tune with the sun, and luckily for us, the farmer next door has been treating us very well and has been supplying us with fresh vegetables every day. We don't take this for granted as we see how much work he puts into his land. So I think the farmer's trying to fatten us up with the amount of food that he's given us. It's getting a little bit overwhelming now, so I think we need to be creative. But I don't think it helps that we actually we'll give him a little cake and a cactus to say thank you for all of the food he's been giving us. And I think that's kind of incentivizing him to keep giving us more food. So I don't know if we've just dug ourselves a hole. I am really grateful because it's saving us a lot of money on our food shop at the moment. And we have noticed that the price of everything's going up, and especially in Portugal it does seem to be more expensive than the UK. So just this food that he's given us has been a real big help. What we have noticed that when he's been giving us this food is that the quality is just so much better than what you'd get in the supermarket. These courgettes are massive and they just taste more alive and fresh than what you would get from the supermarket. And it's nice to have organic potatoes. I don't know if I've ever had an organic potato before, but yeah. We've noticed that when we've ate this food there's a real earthiness to it and you can just taste the freshness. So looking forward to making some stuff with what we've got. With the temperatures rising, we needed to get on with our jobs. Dad started to make some concrete to put the gate posts in. Now that the posts were set, it was time to start putting up our fencing that will be surrounding the front entrance of the property. The reason why we wanted to put up this fence was because we wanted to show that this land was now inhabited. We had found a lot of shotgun pellets on the floor when we arrived, as hunters were walking through the land because it was overgrown and looked abandoned. With the sun yet to fully rise, Dan decided to get to work on building the gate.
So as the sun is just beautifully rising in the morning, starting to get up early these days, getting the work done early before the heat comes. But this morning, what I'm going to be working on is I'm going to be making a gate for the front of the land, for the access into the land. So basically all I'm using is some decking boards, and I'm going to put them together in a minute and start putting them together.
Good morning. It's very early here today. Dan was up earlier than me. It's about 7:30 now, which is quite early for me, but I need to get used to getting up early because it gets really hot here really early, so we're kind of making the most of the cooler weather and getting work done while it's still cool. So Dan's making a wooden gate this morning. He was up drilling and stuff, so I'm now up to offer some moral support.
So what I'm doing for this part of the gate is to get the curve for the tops of the gate. I'm using a steel cutter disc, basically placing it on the wood like that, drawing around it and getting a nice finish over the top for the top of the gate. So as you can see, the aim of this, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a nice kind of round off feel to the tops of the gate to give it that nice kind of like flush finish. I'm going to have to go get my sand now, so I'm going to start sanding around the edges to finish it off and make it a little more smoother. Which is really funny and interesting that this gate was inspired by Theo from Indie Projects. He made a really beautiful gate on one of his videos, and what was really interesting is that when we went into town to purchase these bolts, funny enough, Theo was standing behind us, which was really interesting, and we had a conversation with him and he actually helped us get these bolts. So that was a weird synchronicity anyway.
The gate was really starting to take shape. When we envisioned the land, we always imagined a traditional farm gate at the entrance, so to make our own was a rewarding and satisfying experience. It's these touches that start to make the land feel more like a home. Sometimes when you start a project on the land, it can be daunting not knowing where to start or having the right equipment. This was one of those projects that went smoothly from start to finish. We've noticed so far that when you do come up against some form of resistance on the land, it's always good to take a little breather, pause, reflect, and then come back to the project later. Before we even took on this big project and this new way of living, we were no strangers to meeting resistance. This is a part of life that we have to embrace, just like the seasons.
So I'm really chuffed how well the gates come out. To be honest with you, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I really like I think the bolts really do give it such a nice flush finish, and it's really solid, to be honest. It's really nice, and I'm looking forward to putting it up and getting the gate fully functioning. But anyway, it's looking awesome. Basically we need to make some type of hinge for the gate that we made just down the bottom of the land, and I know in this barn when we first kind of cleared it out, I noticed that on the wall there was some kind of old brackets on the wall, steel brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for my grinder, I'm going to cut them off, and I'm going to pilot hole some holes for the gate. So the reason why I cut the steel off for is because it's a great way to make a gate. I've already got it in the barn, it's super cheap, free, can't get any better. It was already here with the original build. So I've cut them off, I'm going to drill some pilot holes in them, take them down the bottom of the land and fix the gate that was made prior.
With Dan now cutting off the pieces of steel, the next job was to fire up the generator so he could use the drill to put the holes in the metal so that the gate can be attached to the gate posts. Now with the gate hinges pilot holed, it was time to spray paint them to give them a better finish. With the weather being so hot, the hinges dried pretty much instantly, so we could finish putting up the gate. We were so pleased with how the gate came out. It gives the land such a warmly feeling. It's little touches like this that make the land really feel more like a homestead. As a finishing touch, we decided to add the flower of life to the gate. The symbol represents the cycle of life.
So today we're going to be making a compost pile out of some pallet wood that we collected from the industrial area. It's going to be a big help and it's going to move us forward quite a lot with the progress on the land, because now we'll be able to manage our food scraps properly and manage our waste properly and turn that into lovely compost so we can start like growing veggies and stuff, and it'll be going back into the land. So I'm really excited about this project. This is one that I've been waiting for well, since we got here, so really glad that we're getting around to doing it finally.
We picked up some pallets from the industrial area and we were set to create our compost area. This was one of the easier jobs we've done. It was simply a matter of placing the pallets on their side and joining them together with an L bracket. So to make the front of this compost area, we've cut a pallet in half to put on the front, and what that's going to do is it's going to make it easier to turn the compost over. And also what I like about using pallets is compost needs a lot of air in it to break it down, to allow, like, I'm going to be doing the hot composting method and it needs a lot of air to kind of generate the heat to break it down. So having the gaps in the pallets is really helpful to get the airflow through to the compost.
So it's about 8 o'clock now and the weather's getting a bit cooler. It's been 40 degrees today and we've been to the river just to cool off, but it's still very hot. But I want to get some work done while it's still light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top of the land and collect some of the old branches that were cleared out. And I'm going to use that to line the bottom of the compost pile, just so the stuff I put on top's not sitting on the floor directly. I'm brand new to composting. It's my first time ever making a compost pile. I'm going to be trying to hot compost. So it's all going to be brand new. It's going to be a process of trial and error. So if you're following this for tips, I wouldn't really follow. But yeah, we'll see how it will get on.
Hot composting is a method which promotes heat to kill pathogens within the compost. It requires getting the right balance between the carbon elements and the nitrogen elements. If done correctly, the compost will be ready to be returned to the land in 9 months. Creating the compost pile is something that I've been excited about for a while. It's exciting to create a closed loop system where our waste will be returned to this very soil that is used to grow the plants that will nourish us. Over the last few weeks I've been getting more used to working on the land in the extreme heat and doing physical work. Living this way is still new to me, but it's something that I'm slowly starting to get used to. Finding balance has been the key, learning when it's time to work and when it's time to pause and reflect. I'm finding that the dusk is my favourite time of day. The temperature is a lot cooler, the sky is filled with beautiful colours, and the birds sing one last time before settling down for the night.
I'm going to end this week's video here. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching, and thank you for all the comments of support and everything and the advice. It's been really nice. So if you guys have any composting tips, that'll be really helpful, because I don't feel very confident with it, but I think that's all just part of the journey of being off-grid. Everything's brand new and everything's a learning experience, but I'm enjoying it. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.